what type of companies use job order costing. Job order costing, or what's commonly referred to as job costing, is not just a fancy accounting term. It's the language of every business that builds something custom. If every job is run different, you need job order costing or job costing. In fact, I would make the argument, even if you're in a factory mindset, every job needs job cost or at least some sort of process costing. By the end of this video, you're going to know how contractors are the natural home for job order costing or job costing in your world so that you know profitability job by job and you have clarity on the business that you're building. All right, the easiest way to do this, especially since our audience is primarily contractors and construction business owners, is to sort of break this down into two visualizations for you to help you to understand where job costing is most appropriate. And so we look at it in job order costing or job costing, and so we'll put that on the right-hand side, job costing, and then on the left-hand side, and then I'll explain the actual visuals to you, we'll put process costing. And so we're going to cost the process attributed with putting out a widget, in this case going to cost the job of building something custom. So think of this side as custom and kind of a one-off, and think of this side over here as non-custom, or things that we put on a conveyor belt. That's what that drawing is here. Conveyor belt with boxes that are going across the top. Regardless, we still need a methodology for being able to track the profitability of this one-off custom item, and we need to be able to track the profitability of each of these individual manufactured process boxes as well. So regardless of what you're in. Now, because we work with contractors, I'm going to focus mainly on the job costing side, but I want you to be able to see the difference between job order costing or job costing within custom built environments, or at least individualized built environments, versus process costing where things are on a conveyor belt and built in masses. So when things are built in process, we kind of bulk everything together, and so we look at bulk material more so than individual boxes that are going off. But when we're building something like a custom home or a neighborhood of homes, we want to get a little bit more micro in what we look at and starting to understand the cost of each job to see if each job's profitable, in part because we want to know, A, are we making money doing this and generating actual profit, not just revenue? But B, do we want to keep doing this? We've met a lot of construction businesses that they got started doing one particular scope of business and they continue doing that scope because there is a perceived profitability. And you're thinking, well, Scott, wouldn't they just go out of business? Actually, in our modern world, because of the way cash flow works and because of the way credit works, there are a lot of people that are able to float today's bills on tomorrow's deposits. And then when that Ponzi scheme comes up, they're able to continue to float bills based on banks that lend them revolving lines of credit that never stop revolving. Did you get that? I don't want you to be there. I want you to do something different. So in order to do something different, we need to understand how to job cost and understand profitability of each job. All right, so let's talk about how when you get into a custom world or a semi-custom, semi-production world, and you've got these one-off homes that you're building or projects that you're doing, how do you do a proper job cost? Super easy to be able to do. First thing we want to do is we want to ensure that we have a proper contract value that's assigned to that. How do we give a proper contract value? Is we do a really good job of estimating the job. We take our time, we go through an estimating process. Did you hear what I said? We go through an estimating process. If you don't have an estimating process that has been extracted out of your head, then that's the next step that you need to be able to do. In fact, go click on the link in the description below, and on that video, you're going to be able to walk through a long-form masterclass that I have provided for you that actually teaches you how to build a system for your construction business to make sure that you are systematizing everything in the business, like job costing, estimating, how to do electrical walks, permit pulls, marketing. All of those sorts of things will be caught up in that powerful video for you, how to build a system within your construction business. And so when you've got a proper estimating system, that means it gives you credibility in the contract value that you've put on there. So that's the first number. Second number is we need to understand what your gross profit is on that particular job, but we can't do that until we understand the third number, and that is your cost of goods. And this cost of goods rises as you continue to put expense on that particular job. And so this cost of goods is made up of a four-part terminology. And so the easiest way to remember your cost of goods is something that we call slime. And so the slime is made up of these component parts, SLME, with a line in the middle. Now the line is supposed to be an I, but you get it. So slime is subcontractors, labor, material, and equipment. And so these are going to be all your people items for your cost of goods up here, and down here are going to be all your non-people items. And a simple spreadsheet will help you do this. So if you just had one spreadsheet per job, and on that spreadsheet at the top you had the contract value, number one, And then in the body of that spreadsheet, you kept a line-by-line item of everything that you spent in your cost of goods, every sub that you paid, every labor that you paid and brought in for a job. And you might be thinking, Scott, what's the difference between these two, subs and labor? Actually, there's not a ton. And so a lot of people look at the subs and labor and they're like, aren't those the same? Well, they can be, but sometimes people have self-performing labor that they have as W-2 employees. And they're like, does that get caught up in overhead or does it get caught up in cost of goods? It's your decision, but that's why we put it there, so you can have a choice as to cost go to cost of goods or keep it down in the overhead. It's your decision. We call it above the line or below the line, and how you want to account for it. And then down here, your non-people cost of goods are materials. That's the easy one. And then equipment, which can equally be split up into two phases. Either equipment that you rent or equipment that you own. A lot of times people have really good intention when they own their own equipment because they use it all the time. They're like, we'll make money on our own equipment. But then they never cost code it to a job. So they don't know if that piece of equipment was profitable, and they don't know if the job was profitable because they're kind of taking on their own equipment as pro bono rather than actually applying a cost code to it. So talk to your accountant, make sure if you have equipment that you're properly costing that equipment to the actual job down here in cost of goods to make sure you fully understand this number, because you will not understand your gross profit until you understand your cost of goods, which is made up of this mixture of slime, subs, labor, material, and equipment. All right, so now once you've got your contract value, you understand your cost of goods because that's been rising as you paid it, which you should have in your estimate. You can see how accurate your estimate was to your actual, and then when you go to close out the job, you rack up all your slime bills, put those in here, determine your cost of goods. That gives you your gross profit, and then out of that, you cost code how much it actually takes to run the business side of your business. Again, go click on that link below and I'll help you build systems for your construction business there. And so once you understand the cost of your business, in contrast to your cost of goods, in light of the estimate that you put down, now you'll be able to determine the profitability of that job. So you want to do job order costing or job costing on a business that builds sort of one-off things, onesies, fivesies, 50s in a year. But if you're doing large scale, thousands of items in large scale manufacturing, then you'll follow a whole nother item of process costing where you're looking at the bulk materials, not necessarily box after box after box. But if you're in a construction business, you're more likely going to need to do job costing on this side. And that's how you do it, keeping in contrast with three major numbers: contract value, cost of goods, and gross profit. From there, you can determine your overall profitability. Why are you doing all this? Why would you go through all of this work? Because when you don't, and when there's just receipts scattered everywhere, you don't know what's being spent, you're living in chaos, and that's how most contractors live. But the good news is, with some simple math and a simple spreadsheet, you can be liberated from that chaos to make time for the things that matter most.